Twin City Sports Talk on a Saturday in December, 2 days after Christmas. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. Just me today, just Bruce with you guys today. We're going to be going through a Gophers offseason deep dive. I'm kind of excited. We're going to be going through everyone that we know who's transferring out, everyone that we know who's staying, and then we're going to do the hopefuls and see kind of how the team can look next year. We got a few transfers that I'd like to target. And then we're going to be going over who the Gophers play next year and kind of what the expectations should be one day after the season ends. So it's kind of a far out speculation here. And this is definitely everything that I say could 100% change within the next week or in the next 5 months, depending on who we get in the transfer portal. Everything can change here, but I think it'd be fun, and it is going to be fun to do an off-season deep dive right now. And then also today we got a Wolves and Wild game day. We'll get to predictions about that later. Either way, I'm going to start with this Gophers off-season deep dive. I'm going to start with confirming everyone that's staying. And there's some big names. One came out yesterday, and this kind of sparked why I wanted to do this. But Anthony Smith, all-star edge rusher for the Gophers, had a sack in yesterday's bowl game. Oh, and I should mention, for anyone that didn't watch, Gophers win the Rate Bowl in an overtime, pretty much thanks to Jalen Smith. So it was a great game by him. And actually, I should probably get my predictions up here so we can go through that real quick. Because it was a good game yesterday. Really well played by the Gophers in some aspects. Most of the game was pretty stagnant, but either way, if you guys look here, Gophers bowl game, me and Jack made predictions about it yesterday. I said the Gophers win 27-13, and he said the Gophers win 24-14. We both got the win for saying that they would win. Didn't get the score right, so that stinks. For player predictions, I said this hurts. This really hurts. Defense would force 2 turnovers, and Jalen Smith would grab a touchdown. That ended up being wrong. I missed that by 1 turnover. Defense had 1. They could have had 2 turnovers. Jack, he successfully said Drake Lindsay would have 2 touchdowns and Darius Taylor would have a touchdown. He predicted the touchdowns perfectly, giving Jack a point in the point category. Either way, right now, I am up to 25-21 and 7 points. Jack is 9-9, sitting right at 500, but he overtakes Trevor with 1 point, going up to 4, and Trevor's sitting at 12-7 with 3 points. Today, we're going to be making predictions on the Wild and Wolves game. But other than that, that's it for the standings right now. Always fun to go through them. All right. Like I said, Anthony Smith is staying as a Gopher for his senior season. That is huge news. Leading the Big Ten in sacks this year. I mean, that is top tier news. I didn't really think there was a chance. He could easily go into the NFL right now and probably go, I'd say, 3rd round, maybe. Maybe that's the highest. But he stays, and that's probably the best news the Gophers could have got this offseason. All right, other ones, Darius Taylor is returning for his senior season. That's huge. I mean, he is your running back. He has been for a few years now, and he's not going to go anywhere. This offense basically just runs through him some games when we need to. The only issue is like the injury aspect of his career right now. But if you have Darius Taylor, he's going to be dangerous. He destroyed New Mexico yesterday. Either way, last week we found out Maverick Baranowski, middle linebacker, he's going to be staying too. He's not like an all-star type player, but he's a big key of that defense. Locks down the middle really well. Good in run coverage. I will say that. Maverick, it's good that he's staying. I'll say it's really good that he's staying. Big key to that defense. Drake Lindsay, QB1, is also staying. That's even bigger. He said he cannot wait to further his career as a Gopher and win some more games. That's huge. And the Gophers, they weren't far off this year. Winning 7 of 7 games at home, which means keep lagging out here, it seems like. I don't think you're going to win any of those, but you're sitting at 10 wins, to be honest. If you win that Cal and Northwestern game, which you definitely should have, you're the better team by far than either of those. So it sucks, but we get to look forward to next year, just like always now. All right, I'm gonna go through this list of names of guys that haven't really decided yet if they're declaring for the draft or if they're transferring out. They could decide in like 2 months from now, but right now, I think the biggest one people are worried about is Coy Parrish, obviously all-star safety in the back of that defense right now. Another good year, not as good as his freshman year, tallying I think 5 picks in his freshman year. He was all over the place. He was all over the place this season, just wasn't able to make the flashy plays. Maybe teams kind of avoiding him in the passing game. So Coy Parrish is a big one, coming in as the #1 recruit in Minnesota 2 years ago out of ESCO. It would be huge if we could retain him. I don't know. I think he'll stay. Minnesota kid. He chose us over Alabama for a reason. He wanted to stay home. I think he'll stay, but you always have to watch it, and it stinks like that. And then his counterpart in the safety position, Kerry Brown, also a sophomore this year. So if we could retain Coy and Kerry Brown, this defense would already have next year a lethal safety duo kind of back there, which would be really, really nice. But then this one is the bigger one, I feel like. John Nestor, corner. We got him from Iowa this offseason as a transfer. He's a junior. If he stays here, and here's the thing, I feel like he might declare. I don't know, though. He tallied 5 interceptions this year, 6 pass defenses, and 32 tackles at the corner position. He was also hurt for some of the years. So he tallied 5 picks while being injured for a little bit of it. But he was locked down this whole season. And an absolute baller. I mean, he did everything that the Gophers defense could have asked of him. And it was good to see, but if we could return John Nestor next year with Coy and Kerry Brown, the secondary is going to be just as good. And then there's another secondary player, Zaquan Bryan, kind of a backup right now, but you gotta get the depth back, and I hope he doesn't transfer out because he'll see more time next year no matter what. All right, going to the offense, Javon Tracy. He's a junior this year, obviously. Stud wide receiver that we got from the transfer portal last offseason. He had that huge game against Northwestern and a few others. Or was it Northwestern? I'm completely forgetting. Either way, he had a big game in there. I think it was Northwestern. I think it was 3 touchdowns for him there. Either way, big weapon, or not big weapon. He's a smaller receiver, but one of Lindsey's favorite weapons. I'll say that. Good deep runner. Good route runner in general. Great player. We should hope to retain him because this wide receiver group is very depleted. Le'Meke Brockington obviously declared for the draft, and then you lose Malachi Coleman, Kendrick Lanier. So there's already 3 down the drain. Logan Loya was a senior, so he's going to be gone. Right now, I think going into the offseason, I think you have 3 wide receivers on your depth chart. So got to figure that out. And Tracy's the first step for that. You need to retain your entire offensive line except Dylan. He's a senior this year, so he's going to be gone. But your left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle, all of those guys are juniors, or I think the right tackle is a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a freshman, actually. Either way, that would be huge. You need to retain your offensive line. And here's the thing. The Gophers know how to build an offensive line no matter what. And yeah, I was right. Nathan, he's a freshman. And then you got Johnson, Ashton Beers, and Tony Nelson. You got to retain those guys. I don't see them. I don't have a big worry about that. You don't see a lot of offensive linemen entering the transfer portal, like big names or anything. It's just they're going to be pretty stagnant. I think they'll be able to keep most of them. But yeah, Dylan Ray, he's gone. He's a senior. Either way, got to retain the offensive line. If not, that's okay because you know how to build a good offensive line no matter what. All right, next one, two big ones, edge rushers. Jackson Howard, sophomore this year. That would be a big one, all right, because Jackson Howard, I think, coming off of 4.5 sack year, he was only a sophomore this year. He's going to get more time next year, and he's explosive. He's going to get a runway, and I think he'll take advantage of it if he stays here. Because there's the defensive tackle room or interior D line is very hurt after this. A lot of seniors. That's going to be a struggle finding more interior defensive linemen to replace these guys, but Howard's going to have a good year if he stays next year. And then the next one, his backup, Men's Carter. He was in for some of the year too, and he had a great year this year. 5.5 sacks, 15 tackles. He really showed up. He's a sophomore. That would be huge if we could retain him, because obviously with Anthony Smith staying, if you can retain Howard and Carter, that would be pretty great for the program right there. Obviously, we said Maverick Baranowski's staying, but another linebacker that you got to kind of worry about right now or is freshman Emmanuel Carmo, okay? Emmanuel Carmo, backup linebacker. He had a little bit of time in like the 6 games to start the season, but he's going to have more time because Devin Williams, he'll be gone. He's a senior. So Carmo should step up unless you get a transfer in at that position. But Carmo should step up into a role of being a starter with Maverick Baranowski as a sophomore. But Carmo showed a few things. I think he had 1.5 sacks to start I think he had 1 sack, 8 tackles in the 5 or 6 games that he played. So good for him. But and then the last one, backup to Maverick Baranowski, Matt Kingsbury, another sophomore. I don't know if there's a big chance he stays now that Maverick said he's going to return as a Gopher. You never know, but honestly, just get every guy that had any bit of success this year. Just keep them here. PJ Fleck's a player's coach, and it shouldn't be that hard. But it can be hard, obviously. All right. Positions that you need to attack in the transfer portal pretty hard, okay? And I'm not including like new recruits here because obviously I think the Gophers have 8 wide receivers coming in through the recruiting system. I'm not counting that in here. Like I'm just talking like straight depth chart right now, what you need to attack. And the first one is obviously wide receiver. Like I just aforementioned the 3 wide receivers on the depth chart, obviously being Jalen Smith, Javon Tracy, and then Donnell Hayes. I actually don't really know Donnell Hayes very well right now, but obviously right now only 3 on the depth chart with Brockington declaring and 2 others entering the transfer portal. Not a place you want to be in. You're going to have a surplus of them from your recruits, but you need guys to step in with Jalen Smith and hopefully Javon Tracy if he stays next year. You need at least 2 guys, and I'll go through a few in a second. But the next one, tight end. Jamison Gears and Drew Biber are both seniors. They will both be gone. You have 2 with Walsh and Byerman. Actually, Byerman's a senior too. So, and he was kind of your fullback, kind of number 44, big guy, fullback kind of position. Either way, you're going to need to get some guys in the transfer portal there. And the one thing that I guess will kind of back off of that, Roman Voss is the number 1 recruit in Minnesota, and he is going to the Gophers next year, and he's playing tight end out of Jackson County Central. I saw him play in the state tournament, and he's a great athlete. I think and there's a chance he steps right in as a true freshman and plays for the Gophers next year if they don't get an impressive guy in the transfer portal. But for right now, I'd say you got to get someone in the portal. Let Roman sit behind him for a year or 2. And that's kind of how you have to go about that. Running back position, like I said, Darius Taylor is returning, but you need a good backup because Fame Ejiboy, he entered the transfer portal. Cam Davis is a senior. He's going to be out of here. Then you have 2 freshmen with Ford and Washington behind him, but it would be nice to have a reliable backup who put up some good stats this year behind Taylor. 2 defensive positions. Just like I mentioned, interior D-line. A lot of seniors. You're going to be short there. Devin Eastern, Jalen Logan Redding. They are both your starters this year, and they are both gone. They are both seniors. Rashawn Lawrence and Nate Becker, both of those are seniors, and those are your two backups. And then beyond that, Sunram and Hicks are your two freshmen that you have this year. But either way, interior D-line, very shredded up. You need to get some guys there for sure. All right, last one. This is kind of a wishy-washy one, but cornerback, just because you can never have too many corners, okay? And Darius Green, he's going to be gone. He's a senior. Either way, you're pretty young in the corner and your secondary already, but it's just a position you can't have enough of, to be completely honest. You can't have enough corners on your team, or enough reliable corners, I should say. Either way, those are your positions that you got to end up with. All right. Transfer targets. I'm going to name off some actual transfers that are in the portal or expected to be. Maybe some of these guys don't actually go through with it and they stay with their team. I don't know. But these are expected or already guys in the portal. I'm going to start at wide receiver. I'm going to do a dream one here. It's the number one receiver in the portal right now, Nick Marsh from Michigan State. Had a great year this year, 662 yards and 6 touchdowns with terrible quarterback play in Aiden Childs. So he's a sophomore this year. So he will have 2 more years of eligibility. But it's pretty unrealistic that we would get him. He is the number one wide receiver in the transfer portal. So you could definitely see an SEC team scooping him up there, or one of the bigger Big Ten teams, Michigan, Ohio State, maybe even Oregon. They're young at the receiver position. Either way, these are more realistic options here. Naheem Abdul Rahim Gladding, big name there, 4-part name, out of Old Dominion. It's kind of like a Javon Tracy signing here, kind of, where it's smaller school, put up very impressive stats, like really impressive stats. He had 607 yards this year, 6 touchdowns. He's a sophomore, so you would have him for 2 years. These guys are going to get a Power 5 or a Power 4 opportunity, like Gladding and a few others I have. After you put up good years in these G5 schools, these bigger schools notice, and you're going to be able to get opportunities there. Next one being Dante Lee Jr. from Liberty, almost 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's a junior. And you got to remember, not a lot of receivers are going to be putting up 1,000 yards seasons. That's a special type of player in college football. But I do have one that did. San Jose State, maybe some people know him, Danny Scudero. Super impressive year. I mean, he was getting Blinkenhoff, or I forget how you say the award, Blinkenhoff award. Either way, it's the best receiver award for the year, because he put up 1,291 yards this year with 10 total touchdowns. Definitely one of the best receivers, and he might be the best receiver in this transfer portal. He's going to have a lot of action. That's a dream one right there. I don't think there's really any way the Gophers could get them. They'll probably not even go into the race for him, because all the big schools will be. He's a junior, though. Last one. This is one that I would pursue right away, because we're familiar. We played Buffalo this year. Victor Snow. Buffalo's number one wide receiver. He's out. 815 yards this year with 8 touchdowns. Really good receiving year there. I think he's 6'2", good route runner, crispy route runner. He's a junior. You'd have him for 1 year, but that 1 year could really help, because he is a great athlete just in general. So Victor Snow from Buffalo, I would love that. All right, I'm going to go to the tight end position. There's 2 guys that are dreams. The first one, Ben Brahmer from Iowa State. He has been kind of a monster for them. Really good tight end. 446 yards with 6 touchdowns. Number 1 tight end in the transfer portal. He's a junior. And then the next one from USC, Walker Lyons, I think. USC, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a sophomore. That one's obviously more realistic than Brahmer, but Lyons still kind of out of the picture here. He's going to get interest from bigger schools here. All right, these are real options here. And this is an interesting one, because Iowa State is seeing both of their tight ends enter the transfer portal. So their next one is Gabe Burkle. He totaled 302 yards, 1 touchdown. He puts up 11.6 yards as an average for every reception he has. He's a junior. It'd be a great option for the Gophers. It really would be. And I think he's going to kind of maybe get overshadowed a little bit by Brahmer being in the transfer portal. His kind of brother there. I saw an interview between them. They were really close, but either way, both are kind of leaving there. All right, next one, super fun one here. Juice Vereen from UConn. Okay, UConn had a very explosive offense this year. Really good quarterback. They were up there in a bunch of ranks, but he that helped him out a lot. Juice had 310 yards, 5 touchdowns, big red zone threat, 14.6 yards per reception as an average. He's a sophomore, so you would have him for 2 years. He's a big body, 6'4", great pass catcher. That one is one I'd just really, really like for the Gophers to attack for. And then the last one is Jacob Harris from Bowling Green. He had 182 yards and 5 touchdowns. But this guy is a sole red zone threat, kind of like the Gophers. The Gophers, you don't see tight ends really stuck into the offense a lot until you really get to the red zone, which that's how a lot of teams play, obviously. But I think Jacob Harris would really fit the description of being a Gophers tight end. I think it'd be a great pickup. Jacob Harris from Bowling Green, also a sophomore. All right, I'm going to name 3 running backs real quick. That would be a great backup to Darius Taylor, and 2 of them, funny enough, happen to be from the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Zylan Perry and Bill Stewart. They both put up around 700 yards. Perry had 8 touchdowns, and Stewart had 6 touchdowns this year, both averaging 5 yards per carry. Perry is a junior, and Stewart's a sophomore. Either way, either of those guys would make a great backup. And if you need to step in into the game, if Darius is hurt some of the year, which will probably happen again, they can, and it would be fine there. But the one I really want them to go for, Sawyer Seidel from North Dakota, UND, 897 yards, 13 touchdowns this year, 4.8 average per carry. He is also from Minnesota. He went to high school at Hail Mary. Great running back. I mean, he's been in Division 2 or FCS now. I forget if North Dakota's FCS or Division 2. Probably Division 2. Either way, really good statistical year this year. And it would be fun. I think he would be. I think this is very realistic. Him being from Minnesota, knowing the lay of the land here. If he got an offer from the Gophers, I think he would take it. But he's a sophomore, so you'd also have him for 2 years, beyond when Darius isn't here anymore. So really intriguing there. Sawyer Seidel. All right, interior D-line, I got 3, starting with Cavante Wells from UL Monroe, 6'3", 270-pound beast, 16 tackles, 2.5 sacks. He was injured for a little bit of the year. He was a senior this year, but he got granted an extra year. Same with this guy, Cody Sigler. This one's very interesting. Arkansas State, 6'3", 297 pounds, 17 tackles, and 5 sacks this year. That's a lot of sacks for these interior D linemen. They don't get home very often. They're kind of the run stoppers in college football. He's also the senior, like I said. He has that extra year, which is good. And then Jamarian Harkless from Purdue. Now, this is one where I could see a Big Ten player either going to a smaller school, get more playing time, and really show what he's about, or he goes to another Big Ten school, sticks it to Purdue because Purdue is on the Gopher schedule next year. Either way, 6'4", 315 pounds, just a huge guy. 4 tackles, 2.5 sacks, but that was only in 5 games this year for him. He's a sophomore, so you could have him for 2 years, 2 full seasons. I think you would get a lot out of Harkless. Either way, that would be a great one. Corners, and this is a very like brief view of the transfer portal and who I'd like them to go after, and we'll get to probably more deeper dives of some players. And once people are all entering the transfer portal and we really know the lay of the land, then we'll go through some deep dives here on TCST. All right, corner room, Elliott Washington from Penn State. 1 interception, 3 pass defenses this year. Could be a good option if he wants to stay at a relative school in the Big Ten. Dwight Boodle from Charlotte, 1 pass defense, 0 turnovers. It's more of a prospect one here. He hasn't shown a lot. He also hasn't had a bigger runway or enough playing time. Either way, he's a sophomore, so you could develop him for a year and get a good senior year out of him. All right. These two corners are 6'1". Jaquez White from Troy. He tallied 3 interceptions, 11 pass defense, and 53 tackles. He's a junior. You'd have him for 1 year, but he is very active, really good tackler in his scouting report right there. And then the next one is Jaheim Johnson from Tulane, 32 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 4 interceptions, and 9 pass defense. I knew a lot about Jaheim Johnson going into the playoff year. Obviously, Tulane had a great year, one of the best years in their school's history. He's entering the transfer portal kind of right after they were eliminated by Ole Miss in the college football playoff. He's a junior, heck of a talent right there. He'll probably get a lot of notice from the big schools, SEC schools. So that stinks. But I don't think they're really going to have a chance on him. But if you do, you got to take that chance. Heck of a ball player there. Either way, that is a bunch of good transfers that I would love to see the Gophers go get, or just players like them. For wide receiver, get a good route runner, get a quick dude. For tight end, get a good pass catcher. I like the blocking aspect that the Gophers primarily go for, but get a good pass catcher. It would be great to have a guy unlike Jameson Gears who dropped 10 passes this year. Either way, that's all I want to see there. We'll go more into depth with it in the offseason, but right now, I'm excited for the Gophers next year because, like I was saying, with people who are staying, you have your base, especially with Anthony Smith staying. This is the Gophers' schedule for next year, and the conference games are very actually out of sort. Obviously, they're not in order. Okay, they don't know who they're playing through the conference. They only know the dates and who they play on which day through the first 3 game non-conference games. Either way, I'm going to read these off. Obviously, Eastern Illinois, Mississippi State at home. So you get an SEC school to come to Minnesota. Akron, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Northwestern, UCLA, Penn State, Purdue, Washington, and Wisconsin. And I think this is just going by alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken here. Either way, all the Big Ten, all the conference play is not set yet. But here's the thing. Obviously, right when you see this, you avoid teams like Ohio State, Oregon, USC, and then you get Michigan at home. You get Iowa at home. Obviously, Penn State on the road, one of the better environments in college football there. And same thing with the Husky Stadium with Washington. That's a really good environment over there out west. But either way, if you look at this, and I guess you get Indiana in Indiana, and that's going to suck. That probably will really suck. But you look at this right away, and I think the one word to describe this schedule right away, doable. Absolutely doable. Okay, and I'm going to explain why. Because a lot of these teams are going into this offseason with a lot of uncertainty on who's going to be playing quarterback for them, who coaching switches, if they're going to need some time to process everything. And I'll explain this real quick. Obviously, Eastern Illinois and Akron, you shouldn't have any problem against. I'm not going to go through those teams, but I'm going to go to Mississippi State here. This is going to be a very rare SEC team that the Gophers get to play. You just got to be lucky that it wasn't one of the bigger dogs like Georgia, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Alabama, all of those guys. It was Mississippi State, maybe the worst in the SEC. Obviously, it's the SEC. These guys recruit. They're gonna give it their all, and it's gonna be a very tough game for the Gophers. But like I said, you get it right at Huntington Bank Stadium in Minnesota here. Either way, Blake Shapen, the quarterback for the Bulldogs, he is a senior. He's out. Well, actually, he's like a graduate senior. But it's an SEC school. Like I said, they're gonna end up with a quarterback. So that one's uncertain, obviously, but you never know. Second week of the season. If it's it is going to be a new quarterback playing for him. A lot of uncertainty there. Could take a few weeks for him to readjust. Like I said, I'm going to skip Akron. All right, Indiana. Obviously, Indiana being the best team in the nation right now. People can argue if they disagree with that or not. But it sucks that you got to go to Memorial Stadium. But, I mean, Indiana right now, obviously, Fernando Mendoza, He's gone now. He's going to be entering the draft. So I mean, you have a little bit of uncertainty there. They're going to get a transfer quarterback, whether that be Brandon Sorsby or really anyone else in the portal right now. Maybe Josh Hoover. I could see Josh Hoover going to Indiana, the TCU quarterback. That dude's a gunslinger. But Mendoza was really lifted up, and Kurt Signetti is. I don't know if I want to say a top 3 coach in college football right now, but he took a program 2 years ago that went, I think, 2-10, worst team in the Big Ten, pretty much, and now he made them the #1 team in the nation, and he didn't even do that through the recruiting. That was all coaching. They don't have 1 5-star there. They only have 2 4-stars. Absolutely incredible what they have done with Indiana. And they're going to be scary again next year. They have a lot of guys going to the draft this offseason, but they're going to be able to get new ones, get fresh bodies in that building very quickly. Very quickly. All right, moving down to Iowa. Obviously, we played in Iowa. This year, we get them at home. It doesn't seem to matter because they just kick our butts every time we play them, really. But, I mean, Gronowski, maybe the best quarterback Iowa's had in years. He's going to be gone. He's a senior. Obviously, their running back, Moulton, will be back. He was only a sophomore this year. But Gronowski, like I said, a lot of teams with uncertainty this offseason. You don't know if quarterbacks want to go to Iowa with how non-existent the quarterback play has been there for years. But Iowa does not have a quarterback going into this offseason. All right, this one's another interesting one. Michigan. They obviously have Bryce Underwood. The freshman had a good first season here. It wasn't great. He had hiccups along the way, but that's for every quarterback when they're young. But a lot of crap happening with Michigan right now in Ann Arbor. They just hired Kyle Whittingham from Utah as their coach because obviously all the stuff with Sharon Moore was happening, all the allegations there. And just there was like talk that Bryce Underwood would want to transfer out or maybe go back to LSU where he was previously committed to. A lot of stuff going on. I don't think he's going to leave. Kyle Whittingham's a great coach at Utah. He's going to come in and turn the program in the right direction again. But a lot of uncertainty there. A lot of weird stuff going on. You had people transfer out because of Sharon Moore and stuff. A lot of weird stuff. Just a lot of it. All right, next one. Obviously, coming off a loss this year to Northwestern. Preston Stone played amazing in that game against us. He is also gone. So another quarterback that isn't. And so honestly, what I'm getting from this is the Gophers are a rare type of team that's gonna keep a lot of their guys. Their main quarterback, their running back, PJ Fleck is staying home with these guys. Not a lot of these other teams can keep their guys. Like Northwestern, obviously he's a senior, but it's always a revolving door for these other teams. Like Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. They're not on our schedule, but Raiola just yesterday officially transferred or entered the transfer portal. But Preston Stone gone for Northwestern. And Wildy, their top wide receiver, he's gone too. So Northwestern coming in next year with a lot of uncertainty. All right, UCLA. UCLA is an interesting one because Nico Iamaleava, he is really, really weird. He had a bad start to the year, very bad. I mean, UCLA was horrible. They were really bad. But then they kind of turned a page when they got new coaching up and at him. Nico started playing better. They used his legs more and more. That will be a tough game. But again, the tough game, you get that at home. You get Iowa at home, you get Michigan at home, you get UCLA at home, and you get that Mississippi State at home. Great news for the Gophers there. But then you hit the Penn State Nittany Lions. All right, Penn State just hired Iowa State's coach, obviously with James Franklin being fired. But they do not have a quarterback right now that will be starting next year. They're going to be in the transfer portal. A lot of teams in the transfer portal for a quarterback. So Penn State, another weird one. And guess what? Penn State only has 5 recruits coming in next year. They are in a really bad situation. Very bad situation. What the heck? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what just happened there. My screen just lagged. Either way, Penn State, weird situation there. Moving on to Purdue. Purdue's quarterback, Brown, same guy we faced this year. He's going to be their quarterback next year. He showed us some things this offseason, I'll say that, or this season. Showed some promise there. Purdue could be a bit better than they were this year if the transfer portal goes well for them. All right, Washington, Damon Williams is their quarterback for next year, but speculation there. Their running backs, Coleman, he declared for the draft one of the better running backs in the nation this year. And then Muhammad, their backup, he transfers out. So running back uncertainty. They have their quarterback, but that will be a tough game in Washington. Washington's a very tough place to play. For Wisconsin, I honestly don't know. They have quarterbacks that they use this year on their roster who they'll probably have next year, but I don't know if they're going to go get someone. Wisconsin is in a very, very weird state right now. I don't know what Wisconsin's doing right now. Either way, if I had to say right now, if I went through the schedule, okay, I would give the Gophers a win against Mississippi State, just being at home. I mean, the Gophers don't have the greatest. We don't have the greatest home environment in the world, but I think that would be enough to boost them past one of the worst SEC teams in Mississippi State here. I would definitely say a loss against Indiana. Okay, being in Indiana, between Iowa and Michigan, I think it would come to a shock for some people, but the Gophers team could be not loaded, but in a very, very good spot come next year. I think they take a win against either Iowa or Michigan and then lose the other. I think you win against Northwestern and UCLA. And then there's a lot of depending stuff on Penn State right now because, like I said, 5 recruits in their entire recruiting class this year because James Franklin snubbed, I think, 23 of them when he went to Virginia Tech. So that's really an interesting story there. But Penn State, depending on how everything goes in this offseason, you could definitely walk into Penn State and get a win over there. And then you should beat Purdue and Wisconsin. Washington, that could be a loss, but I could genuinely see the Gophers winning 9-10 games next season. And I mean, if they win 10 games, that's going to put you in a spot for like college football playoff discussion. I don't think they would really ever make it or make it far, probably lose first round, to be honest. But this is a very doable schedule with a lot of teams with a lot of uncertainty right here, a lot of it. You obviously, teams are going to be good. Indiana's going to be good. Michigan will be good. But you get Michigan at home, like I said. There's a lot of stuff going in the Gophers' way come next season. Plus, PJ Fleck's keeping his core and keeping a lot of his guys, which that's even bigger. And that's the big piece right now. Either way, we'll get more into Gopher stuff this offseason as the transfer portal really opens up and a lot of that starts taking its place. But right now, we're going to get to some Wild and Wolves pregame talk really quickly here. I'm not going to go through it a ton. But the Wild going to Winnipeg to take on the 15-17-3 Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, the Jets, like I just said, the record is not where they want it right now. They're on a losing streak right now. It's just not going well for Winnipeg this year. And if I can check real quick, I think they are on a 4-game losing streak. Yeah, 4-game losing streak to Ottawa, the Blues, Colorado, and Utah. And actually, this month they only have 2 wins. They have 9 losses. They're 2-9 in the month of December. Winnipeg not going well right now. I'm not actually sure as to why. I mean, Hellebuck is still in there. I don't know if they have any injuries. Yeah, I'm not seeing any injuries right now. Obviously, still got Kyle Connor, old friend Nino Niederreiter, Jonathan Tays. A lot of weird stuff there. You wouldn't expect them to be this bad after coming off of another good season last year. Either way, I think Wallstead is going to be in net tonight for the Wild. Kick off this road trip. And honestly, I'll get to my prediction later, but Wallstead, again, having a good year. He's been more leaky than he has been as of late here. Yeah, it'll be a. I think honestly, looking at it right now, I haven't looked at either one of these games before this, but Wild outdo the Jets in a lot of key categories. The Jets, oh man, so they're 24th in league in penalty minutes, so the 24th most penalty minutes. So they spend a lot of time in there, and that'll go back to the power play that we've been talking about in the past couple days. Get your power play figured out, Minnesota. Hughes, Kirill, Boldy, get your passing figure out. Get shots on net because you're gonna have times tonight. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of times tonight for sure. All right. Going to the Wolves game, the Wolves welcome into Target Center the 9-19 Nets. Okay, so this is a weird one for sure because this is easily a game you should just take care of business no matter what. Michael Porter Jr. is having a career year with the Nets right now, 25 points per game, 7 rebounds. But the big thing, he's shooting 40% from the three-point line. Just a really, really good year for him. Wolves are obviously coming off a Christmas loss to Denver in an overtime thriller. But right now, this is a huge stretch for the Wolves, an absolutely huge stretch because if I'm going to read this off, the Wolves are entering super easy stretch. The Nets, and then you go to Chicago to play on the 500 Bulls, and then you go down to Atlanta to play the 15 and 17 Hawks. And then you have 2 games in Miami. In between those is the, I think, 6 wins, 6-23 Wizards. Obviously, then it gets harder after that. So you have a 6-game stretch here where you should win 5 of them, most likely. You should win 6 of them, but that's just not going to happen most likely. You got to win 6 of these or 5 of these games. Starting with the Nets tonight, you get the Nets at home. Big get right game after coming off a loss. The Wolves won 3 straight before that against good teams between OKC, Milwaukee, and the Knicks. Almost beat the Nuggets. That was a close one. But the Nets show up to this game, unlike some of the games this year, and really bring it to them. I don't want this game to be close. I don't think it should be close. The Wolves need to take care of business and just go home and have a good night after that. That's all it is. You can't mess around tonight. Go get the win. It's that simple. The Wolves have been very inconsistent against these worse teams than them. They don't show up to a bunch of these games. It sucks. But that you're going to need to tonight. You need to because the Nets, they still have playmakers all around. Porter Jr. is having one of the best years of his career. They also have Cam Thomas still, who I think is having still a good year yet, averaging 22 points. He doesn't move the ball around at all. Only 2 assists, but shooting well from 3 for him. Claxton, he's a great center down below. Yeah, you got to bring it. And this, it'll be embarrassing if the Wolves lose tonight because, like I said, there's been games this year. The Suns, 2 games. Memphis, the Kings. You can't be losing these games. And if you win them, your record puts you probably close to 2nd in the West. But they keep losing these games. They shouldn't. I just need to see the Wolves win these games before I can really have confidence that they will. I need to see it. I need to see the eye test come to fruition there. Either way, we're going to get to our predictions right now. Like I said earlier, right now, I am 25-21 with 7 points. The points category going off of your player prediction, that's 1 point. And then if you get the score right of any game, NBA games being 5 points, NHL games being 2 points in the point category there. And then Jack, he's sitting at 9-9 with 4 points. Trevor sitting at 12-7 with 3 points. All right. My wild prediction tonight, Wild Jets are struggling, very much struggling. They're not getting anything on offense this whole entire month. The Wild coming off 4 days rest. I got the Wild winning tonight. I'm assuming it's going to be Hellebuck in goal for Winnipeg, but I got the Wild winning. I'm going to say 4-2. 4-2. The offense is going to come to play. Hopefully a power play goal or 2. And you know what? I will say that the Wild will score. They're going to have chances on the power play. Like I said, Jets spend the 24th most minutes in the penalty box as a team. So I'm going to say the Wild get 2 power play goals tonight, which has been very, very unrealistic the past month for the Wild. All All right, the Wolves, Nets at Target Center. Like I said, I got the Wolves winning. I cannot have them lose tonight. This is a game they can't lose. If they lose this game, that's going to be one of the most embarrassing losses this season. Bring it to them. Defense, come to play. Wolves win 118 to, I'll say 104. And then for a player prediction, I'm going to go, this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to go Claxton and Rudy will both have a double-double. Both have a double-double. Yeah, that's a fun one right there. One of the funnest predictions I made, because funner is definitely a word. Either way, I got both of our teams winning tonight. Wild win 4-2, Wolves win 118 to 104. That's all we got here. Twin City Sports Talk. We did a Gophers offseason deep dive. We'll do more of them this offseason as it progresses along. But right now, all I got to say is thanks for watching. Subscribe, follow the TikTok, Instagram, and Spotify, and subscribe to the YouTube. And we'll have more episodes coming out every day this week. Thanks for the support. Keep your listener GM questions coming along. We'll answer them on any show. And yeah, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.